because I don't think he knew that it was forced cross spawn, which is a bit of a shame. But I think if he scouted you anyways, there's not much he could have done differently. But we'll see here. He's going to get his 2 queens out. Probably go for a 4-queen opening.
Yeah. And I guess that is the pretty standard opening now for Zergs that, you know, it used to work where they didn't go for the 4-queen opening, and this Hellion Harass did even more damage. So the 4-queen opening is definitely really solid. Good defensive opening in case you get early Marine pressure, early Hellions.
We see that I almost got the block on the factory from landing, but you got it in time. This map is a little bit tough to hold Hellions with just queens, because the wall off is definitely... You can't get it off in time, so you're going to have to wall off kind of your natural area here. So this was a very good map to have early Hellions on, I think, from the available map pool.
Yeah, definitely. It is just, you know, yeah, like you said, it's wide. Even for queens to cover, it's, you know, Hellions are fast. So you want to race around them and get to the drone runs.
So notice here you skip the Marine. Is that something you regularly do with this build?
Yeah, I think so. It's, you know, if I'm not seeing anything irregular out of the Zerg, then Hellions usually are my first unit. I don't think the Marine does too much. If the Zerg's going for early roaches, well, my Marines aren't going to really help. So, yeah, I don't know, just something that I've worked in.
So the Zerg is going for 3 bases and early, getting a lot of queens, but it looks like this worker damage can do quite a lot here, because he only has these queens to defend. He's doing some good micro, but at the end of the day, he's going to lose quite a few drones. And he's got nothing to help him either.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, one of the best things about drones, probes, SCVs running away, they always get in a line. Exactly what Hellions are looking for, so.
Yeah, one thing to note if you ever are trying to deal with Hellion harassment is if you just click on your workers, hit stop, you can click idle drone, and most the default binding is F1. So if you hit F1 right click, F1 F right click, over and over again, your drones will all go to different locations. And instead of lining up, which makes them very easy to pick off for Hellions, you just have them all scatter in different directions. And that way your queens continue to work on them, and they'll kill at most 1 drone at a time instead of killing many at a time.
Yeah, that's right. Especially with the queen range upgrade, it's definitely a lot harder. Like you said, when you split up your drones like that, you know, Hellions can't really do as much damage. And if you know, people sometimes overlook that.
So we see your expansion just going up now, and you got a pre-igniter going, Blue Flame Hellions, and that's going to do a lot of damage because he is only producing lings at this time.
Yep, that's right.
Now, do you see varying reactions from Zergs on the ladder? Do you see, like, they see like 4 Hellions that want to go roaches, or do most people try to stick to lings?
You know what? I think I see roaches more often. Just I guess that's a pretty natural reaction. You look at Hellions, you're thinking, well, what counters Hellions? Well, roaches do, and you can use roaches for a lot of different ways. You know, a lot of people might see Hellions and are thinking, well, Banshee might be coming, so while I have queens, I'm going to get my scores up. That defends against queens. Now my roaches can be used to pressure. So yeah, I think roaches are pretty common, but some people skip them, save the gas.
Absolutely. And if you had seen with your scouting Hellions a quick lair, how would you have reacted to maybe the possibility of mutas, or if you had not seen a third base, how would you change your build?
Yeah, so actually right now I didn't see the third. I was surprised that the third was up that quickly. But I think, you just kind of know the muta timing when it's going to come. And a lot of times with my build, I pretty much blindly defend against mutas. Because that's one of the only things that can do a lot of damage to mech opening. Especially if you don't get a Thor out for quite a while. But in general right now, you kind of just have to know when mutas might come and hit you, and, the times usually work out so that you can get some damage done and see what's up.
So we see double upgrades coming from the Zerg now. Probably going to go in for that Infestor timing, and yep, there's the Infestor push coming down. Just trying to defend with Lings and Infestors, which can be really tough against mech, actually. I think that mech is extremely strong against that style most of the time, although Life's definitely shown us otherwise. Do you have any? What do you think works in your kind of play style with going heavy mech? What do you think strongest way to deal with it is?
Strongest way, I've dived a couple of different ways. Early Muta sometimes can do a lot of damage just because, like I was saying, it's hard to get those stores out. You have 4 production buildings, and you're not double producing Marines. So early Mutas can do well. I've seen Burrow Roaches do really well, simply just because the tanks become neutralized. I mean, tanks do great against Roaches, they do great against Infestors, but if you're able to burrow, get under the tanks, well, their siege damage just splashes over the Terran units as well.
So we see the Zerg player going for a very early hive, considering, and I think, have you, let's see what your scouting looks like. You see the third. I'm guessing your timing push can come before this third finishes. Is that kind of what you aim for before the hive could complete?
Yeah, that's right, exactly. I mean, this push is generally a pretty strong one. I might have a third coming up afterwards, but yeah, it is in general trying to target pretty much any Zergs that, they're trying to rush to this really late game, great unit composition, Infestors, Blue Lords, those kind of things, and those are tough to deal with. So as Terran, you have to try to minimize that, try to slow them down, and take advantage of when they might be vulnerable.
So we see the total unit count for the Zerg. He's got 4 Infestors and quite a few Lings, but that's about it. And he's going to have to defend against a lot of mech coming across the board in just a second here. And I think it's maybe a little bit of a risk to try to get Hive off the 3 bases. That's kind of really committing to it. And if you have any sort of attack coming, your attack is not going to come in time. And I think kind of unusual for that reason. But so we have the attack coming from you now. You pulling about, let's see, we got 21 SCVs. Do you try to take a certain number every game, or just eyeball it?
Yeah, pretty much eyeball it. See across about 2 rows, so 16 plus a couple. But yeah, just enough to get good repair on the Thors. I mean, this is a really valuable army. It's hard to replace. So, like anything that's valuable, you don't want to lose easily. So.
Oh, see, unfortunate fungal growth there on the Hellions, but looks like your SCVs are doing quite a lot of work here in repairing and taking damage. And that was all he had, actually. He had only those fungals, and he had only those infested Terran, and he's got nothing else to back it up. So,
yeah, I mean, it was just a good timing hit that, unfortunately, he wasn't able to break down the line, but he did do well in the engagement, I would say. He got the good fungal off on the Hellions, so then they couldn't do enough damage on the Lings, and then was able to catch the tanks pretty much on siege. The tanks were siege slightly late and a little bunched up. So yeah, but I would still say just, he didn't have enough units, he tried to go for the Hive.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, he went for the Hive, and we noticed that he doesn't have any Hive units coming. He is not able to utilize the fact that he got such an early Hive. So I think, maybe going for a 4th faster, you have the production from that 4th anyways, if you're trying to find some way to use your extra mana. But we see the Zerg is actually floating quite a bit on minerals, going at 3,600 right now. So
I would ask you, so he's at the Ling at my 3rd at the Terran 3rd. So is that something that, probably Zerg shouldn't be advised to do if they don't see a Terran going for the 3rd? Should they maybe not take the Hive that quickly, etc.?
No, absolutely not. I mean, really, if you got 3 bases against 2 bases, the only way you're going to lose is by some sort of push, right? I mean, you just have an extra, third of an economy, so, like, you just are going to be so far ahead as long as you just sit back. So I think the thing to do is probably take a 3rd or take a 4th and not saturate it very well. So you have an extra production building. You see the Zerg's biggest problem right now is just production. He doesn't have nearly enough for how much money he's making.
Right. But I would also just point out, if you go to his view, from Zerg's view, he doesn't have any scouting info. Other than, having a Ling at the 3rd, he doesn't know anything about my base. He knew I had an expo coming up, but, throughout the game, Zerg's a lot, sacrifice the Overlord, the Overseer, fly across, just kind of get to know what the Terran is doing. And I think that's really helpful a lot of times when you're trying to stop a time like this. Just to know when they're moving out, know what kind of units they're amassing. It's going to help you a great deal, knowing when to have to get units.
Absolutely, and I mean, just sending one Overseer in to see how many factors they have, because knowing they're going mech is such a big difference between knowing what they're doing, like if they're just going tank marine. So it looks like that was a pretty well-handled game by you. We have 4-0 victory for Colombia total. Look at the bracket. We see Colombia getting all victory there, so good for our set differential. Good first match of the series, or the tournament. But so everyone, thanks for tuning in. I think we're going to end it off here. And we'll see you next week.
All right, great. Thanks, guys.